Great. Perfect.
Okay.
Hi, Jason.
Hi.
Welcome. Welcome to the ReGEN Club, and thanks for taking out the time to talk to us, young engineers, primarily based in the UK. And as we've sort of discussed previously, we are a club that are looking to empower both young energy professionals as well as mature students with strong technical acumen, as well as that strong leadership skills to be able to, thrive within the workforce beyond just, technical capabilities, which is the essence of ReGEN Club. And this month, we're going to be primarily focused on solar PV technology. As you can see, following up on last month where we dealt on wind and all of that. So just to introduce the two faces you have over here, I am Timmy. I'm currently a project engineer within the energy sector, primarily focused on solar PV. I've worked in the energy industry for renewable energy industry, to be precise, for about 4 years now. And I've worked around different technologies such as wind, solar, as well as electricity networks in order to get that breadth and depth across all the different energy vectors that we have. Because as you know, there's quite a lot in the energy sector. And yeah, just to introduce Jason, Jason has worked across multiple scale of solar PV projects from both from small scale, commercial scale, as well as community scale solar PV projects. And he's based in Jakarta, Indonesia. Such a very big privilege to have an international viewpoint on our club today. And
Thank you, Timmy.
hopefully exactly. And yeah, if there's anything I've missed out, feel free to tell us any nice things or if you're perfect with my introduction.
Yeah, we first of all thank you for the invitation, and I'm honored to be as the like the guest for this podcast. So yeah, maybe another thing to add from your introduction from for me is like uh I've been in the renewable energy sector for like about 5 years, but mainly focused on the solar and BESS sites. So yeah, I'm eager and I'm interested to talk with you about what are interested in the solar and BSS realm for now.
Perfect, perfect. Excuse me. I mean, I think I did miss out on the best part because for every renewable energy technology, I think there's been quite a lot of conversations around supporting the intermittency from renewable energy sources with battery energy storage. So anytime you mention any form of renewable energy, you just cannot miss out that conversation on battery energy storage, which is something even I myself will be quite keen to gain more depth and understanding on because I do think there's so much value to unlock from battery storage. But if you keep, stay tuned to ReGEN Club, maybe one day we would have Jason back to talk about battery energy storage. Just watch this
Thank you,
space.
thank you.
Oh, perfect. Just starting off our conversation today with, the energy industry. Jason, would you like to give us a bit of insight and into the energy landscape in Indonesia, Jakarta? What is it like? As someone based in the UK, I could talk all day about us, but it's quite good to, hear what's energy like in Jakarta or Indonesia in general.
Yeah, maybe for Indonesia, like the general thing is like Indonesia has renewable energy target as well, such as other countries, maybe in the UK, in the US, all have the renewable energy target. And then for the target for Indonesia is like for the 2025, the target of renewable energy mix actually is 23% from all the generation. Yes, it's quite ambitious, but I think from the 2025 data, Indonesia just has reached 14%. So
Oh,
we need a lot of work to keep up the target. But we have a new target as well in the 2026. The renewable energy mix is like around 31% across
very close.
Indonesia. Yeah. So I think it's the general target. And then for the landscape in Indonesia, due to its geographically like the archipelago's country, such Philippines and Indonesia as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of renewable energy mix that can be uh, implemented for
Oh,
each big island, right? So yeah,
right.
I think that's the most interesting part in Indonesia. So maybe I'm in focus in solar, but there's a lot of other potentials that we can talk about Indonesia. But for solar itself in Indonesia, the potential itself is 8 gigawatts for the next 2 3 years. And then if we talk about Indonesia, it's located in the equator.
Yeah.
So we have sunny days all along the years. Yeah, of course, there's a rainy season
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe for a bit technical, we have like a peak sun hour for about ranging 3.7 until 4.5. Even there's an area that has 5 hours of peak sun hour. So yeah,
That's lovely.
the capacity factor for the solar PV is really it's like pretty great in Indonesia. So yeah, I think that's a bit brief for the energy landscape in Indonesia.
That sounds very interesting. And just to give a bit of insight, what other technology apart from solar, is being majorly discussed in Indonesia right now?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem about renewable energy, as you mentioned, is the intermittency. So we need to combine with the BSS, but there's actually one renewable energy that can be as the base load provider. It is the
Yeah.
geothermal. Yeah, due to
Oh, yeah.
the location of Indonesia is like in the ring of fire, if you know, for the volcanoes, right?
Doesn't sound
There's
exciting, but yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of access to the geothermal energy, but there's of course some challenges as well to implement the geothermal. But if you say only the potential is really big to be able to like substitute or yeah, replace the existing baseload conventional power plants such as coal and gas.
That's amazing. Like, it sounds like geothermal is something that I've really not looked into before, but I think you have the geographic, advantage of being right next. I mean, I'm not too sure how that is in terms of natural disasters and whatnot, but in terms of, I guess, energy potential that could be tapped, that's another thing that you've unlocked for yourselves, which must be nice, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Must be nice. Right. So just going back into solar and getting a flavor of, your experience in solar, could you sort of tell us what your journey with solar has been like and, yeah, the different examples and skills that you've done? Because I know, because we've spoken before, yeah, the difference of scale of solar that people could expect with this technology.
Yeah, actually for the scale, the nearest can that can be accessible to peoples are like the residential solar,
Yeah.
and then for the industries, for the businesses, and as well as the utility scale for the IPPs, the independent power producers. So
Yeah.
I've been work on those three scales. It has interesting characteristic for the systems. Yeah, maybe for the residential, it's as simple as we connect to the grid and we
Mm.
save the usage of the electricity in our house, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you want to install the BSS to be able to store the energy during the day and then you use it during the night, you can do that as well. Or even you can save it the energy from the PV to charge your EVs, maybe.
Yeah.
It is we can able to do that. So and then maybe I've heard in the UK, maybe you can correct me. There's like an energy market, like you can do the arbitrage
Yeah.
to store when the energy price is high and then energy price is low,
Yes.
and then you sell
So, yeah.
when it is high. Quite interesting. We cannot do that in Indonesia because we are only one provider for the electricity. So that's something I like to learn as well from you. And
Oh,
then maybe for the industrial, actually, it is one of the most fast-growing capacity in Indonesia for the CNI projects, because there's a lot of heavy industries such as cement and then
oh,
textile in Indonesia. So that requires energy, and then
yeah, a lot
uh,
actually.
yeah, a lot of energy, and then they work at the during the day, right? All the electrical motors, all the electrical
That is
load
true.
it
Yeah.
used during the day, and if they install solar on the rooftop of the factory, you can save a lot energy, and it's
Yeah.
much more cheaper than the existing grid. So yeah,
I
it's one of the benefits. And then for the utility scale, I think the business model, so it is more like IPP for Indonesia, because the one that can sell the electricity to the customers is like only the state-owned company. So for the
Right.
IPP models, the IPPs is selling to the state-owned company. So yeah, actually, there's several models, such as just sell how much electricity and at what price, or we can share like sharing capital.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we build together with the state-owned company. And
Yeah.
then there's another thing, we just as be the contractors or the vendors for the state-owned company to be able to build the such power plant, the solar.
Yeah, that's true. I think what you sort of discussed, you can see the different, I guess, rationales for bringing in solar into different spaces. So, for example, a residential homeowner is thinking more about saving the energy bills and just trying to use electricity in a very much cost-efficient way. And then you have businesses as well, whereby it is basically cheaper than the grid, and you also have grid scale sort of scenario where you partner with the one provider, which I do think is very fascinating, that only one entity can sell electricity, because as you mentioned in the UK, even you can have a homeowner sell electricity, into the grid based on its form of tariffs that they have contracts with, because we have different, we call them distributed network operators, and we have about six in the UK. So depending on where you live, they're geographically positioned, whereby if you're in a particular region, your distributed network operator would be one entity. And if they have certain kind of schemes where people can sell to the grid just to help the grid, you can basically negotiate, not negotiate, but because they have fixed systems, but different providers have that. And sometimes they also have the energy suppliers. So those are the retailers who you as a homeowner or you as a business owner, you pay your electricity bill to. So those are the ones that buy bulk electricity from the generator. They pay tariffs on the network owners, and they basically supply directly to the homes or whatnot. So a lot of the time, the people you pay your bills to, they're called the electricity suppliers, and then those are usually different from the people who own the actual cables and like the network infrastructure on the ground, or overhead lines, very different entities. So there's, for each level of renewable energy generation, I mean, just energy generation generally in the UK, we have multi layers of where you can bring in charges in terms of monetary value. So you could be a network owner and not really sell, so
Mm.
like supplying, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is something I do find there's so much, and we have, in order to avoid things like monopoly and whatnot, we have a body called Ofgem, which is the office. I hope I get this wrong, this right. So it is the Office for Energy and Gas Market, I believe. So that is the main regulatory body to ensure that there is fair competition in the market, and they've brought in so many policies to just sort of maintain that balance between those who supply, those who own the networks, and also the off-takers, the basic consumers like me, like ourselves, where we have to pay electricity bill, and to make sure that the general public is not being overcharged for
Mm.
electricity. So that is the level of, I guess, regulation that we've put in place, because if there's a lot of charging mechanisms along the different boundaries of from between generation and when the energy is being used, there's potential to sort of hike prices. And obviously, by the time you get to the bottom end of the chain, you kind of want to gain back all the cost. And it's the general public who suffers at the end with terrible electricity prices. So that is something that we have in place to sort of regulate how much is being invested into the markets to stabilize prices. And very, very interesting. So yeah, when
Yeah.
you say it's just one entity that can sell, like, oh, there's so much potential. Let's talk to the Indonesian government to change that. But I didn't say that. I definitely didn't say that.
So
Um,
there's like SEC for energy in the UK, right? Some kind of like SEC, like in the US, so for the regulated for the market, right? But it is for the
Yeah.
energy market, right?
Yes, exactly. Very,
I
very
see.
fascinating energy markets, both within the country as well as with other countries that we have high voltage electricity networks with. So I think of it like when you have the Wall Street, that whole energy trading usually sell buy is such an essential commodity, and a lot of people do not know that exists. Like energy trading is quite it's a thing that's how they make money here in the UK with in the energy sector. But just something I just thought it was probably worth driving in and just also explaining the energy landscape in both countries to those listening to us
Yep.
today. Yeah, that's very fun. And I think it's something that we've discussed before where like commercial industries can sell, but instead of kilowatt hour, you sell like per kilowatt peak, that kind of scenario in Jakarta or in Indonesia directly. But do you have situations where residential owners or residential solar PV owners also do that kind of arrangements where they sell like per kilowatt peak, for example?
So I think the models for simplified what happened in Jakarta is like uh you for the residential model and the commercial industrial actually it is like a car lease. So you lease the PV system with a
Right,
fixed rate with some kind of rate we agreed upon, and then
right.
they pay the monthly installment.
I see.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yes,
for
I guess.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's not really going to work with residential then because you're the one really using the electricity and it's usually very small scale to probably gain like monetary or financial margins on it. So makes
Yeah.
sense. Oh, that's fun. So just sort of speaking about solar PV projects in general, what would you say has been like the most interesting project you've worked on? Because at the end of the day, it's all good to design projects, but building the projects and seeing it, operational, that's really the end goal for any infrastructure project. So, what would you say? Yeah, what would you say that has been like your previous experience with any significant projects, in terms of from beginning stage, so from getting the projects, like who owned the project or who financed the project, who was going to be the end user of the electricity being generated, how do you go about, choosing the best partnership to deliver the projects in terms of contractors, that whole, scenario, just to make sure that what you plan or as a design engineer, what you plan for kind of the quality gets cascaded to the final end and to the operations of the project.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, for the one of the biggest project that I've handled is like the capacity is like 25 megawatts peak
Yeah.
times two. So actually the total capacity is 50 megawatt peak.
50. No, yeah, that's
And
big.
then the business model is like being the IPP to the state-owned company
Right.
that I mentioned before. So yeah, I think for the like the planning of the project and then the execution, of course we need to do a lot of site survey and then discussion with the locals, and then check either the land, who will provide the lands, is it the
Yeah,
state owned or we need to provide the land, because if we are talking about megawatt peaks projects, it requires a lot of big land.
that's
Sorry,
you.
thank you. So yeah, I think there's a lot of discussion, and then like for example the other permits, for the environmental permits, for the
Yeah.
province permits, and then the governor. So there's a lot of things we need to prepare before we start about the design, the negotiation for the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after we, I think, secure all the permits, all the legal stuffs with the legal teams, we start for the engineering design. We choose the most, I think, the most system that able to generate the most electricity, right? Because if
Mhm.
we are being the IPP, we have like the annual contracted energy, and then if we cannot achieve that, we need to pay the penalty, and
Yeah.
there's as well a take or pay some kind of transaction. So yeah, I think we need to choose the most or the best components that are available right now. And I think the most important thing we need to look is like the Bloomberg tier one or the bankability list.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is a really great parameters and data to check, because a lot of financier look at that too. So when you secure international financing or even local
Yeah.
financing in Indonesia, they also look up to that data. So when we are using the products that there's that stated in that list, in the Bloomberg list, it's most likely we can able to get the financing. And I think also the interesting part is the first 25 megawatt peaks, we are using the ground mounted system.
Oh,
So like it's like a 20 hectares of land, and we are using the trackers, the mounting
yeah.
trackers,
Yeah.
to be able to capture more electricity. And actually it's been operating, and comparing with the fixed mounted, ground mounted,
Yeah.
the energy yield is actually capture like more until 8 to 12%
Oh,
than the
wow.
fixed mounted one. So yeah, it's really great for the generation. And I think for other people that interested in the ground mounted system, you should
Yeah.
consider the
The
tracker,
trackers. Yeah. That that
because
is that is
yeah,
really good.
and comparing to the capex of the trackers for the total of the projects, the total
Yeah.
of the project, maybe it's only like 3 to 5% more expensive, and
Oh,
you gain 8 to 12% energy yield. So there's a gap, more profit if we are using the tracker.
yeah. That is actually so good because I do think because I mean in the UK there's not much sun to track, unfortunately. So I do think the financials, like in this part of the world, do not really stack up when it comes to tracker systems. But a lot of countries that have, a very generous amount of peaks on hours, that is definitely the way to go. And I think in general, when it comes to like solar PV technology, the more as time has gone, solar has definitely been cheaper than when we first started. So, and that also involves all the associated equipment, such as trackers, for example, which I presume has also kind of dropped in price. So even hearing that it's just, 3 to 5% more than just fixed mount system, that is really, good when you think about the profits or the better revenue that you get from more yield, I'd say, with tracker systems. So I mean, for those listening, tracker systems compared to fixed tilt system, from the name, you can tell that fixed tilt system basically are stationary. They pretty much don't move, and they capture the light intensity from that direction throughout the lifetime of the project. Tracker systems, however, they follow the sun path. So over the day, in a typical day, the sun cycle moves. So you're basically moving the surface of the PV to capture the the direct I would say direct light intensity as the sun path changes. But that's just a brief of an explanation as to what we're talking about. So, and as you can tell, when you're able to follow the sun movement, you obviously capture more direct light instead of having a situation whereby, some of the light rays just reflect back and do not actually get captured. Hence, you don't get enough yield from your solar PV systems. But that's really good. And I think I've also seen some of the projects that we've worked on previously where you have track assistance, but not in the UK, like other part of the
Um,
other part of the globe. So it's just one of those interesting parts when you think about the technology opportunities with renewable energy, how we can add more technology advancements into existing technologies just to get the most out of it and just become more efficient with how we spend our capex, as well as the raw materials that we have at our
yeah.
disposal.
And then maybe another tricks. Actually, this is not a technology tricks, but it is a very simple tricks that able to improve your yield. So in that project, we are using the white gravel that's spread
Yeah.
across
Yes,
the
that's another
land,
one.
and then we are
Yeah.
using the bifacial module
Official. Yeah.
for the tracker. So it's really increasing, like it's like pretty much it's like 2-3% more yield due to we are using the
The
white gravels, the
yeah.
the light color gravels, and then the
Yeah.
bifacial module.
Yeah. So the nice, I would say, tricks, I guess. The nice things
Yeah.
that you can just sort of implement in your system that doesn't really have to be, over the top. Like white craft is essentially stone colored white. And obviously white is a better reflector of light. So when you have bifacial panels, which is a panel that captures both the light intensity from the top and the bottom, you can reflect more whatever light intensity is coming to the ground, it bounces off directly right to the back of the panels. Like you basically gain there's something we call bifaciality gain, and that's what you capture with more yield with those type of PV panels. So just get white stones, put under your thing, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Adding that to my tricks. Adding that to my lovely tricks. So good. I think this has been a very fun part just talking about the technical element of things. But just sort of going beyond the sort of technical design and looking more at implementation and delivery of this project, because it's all good to design the best systems, but the people who build those projects on ground is also something really critical to determine, and those things can make or break a project. If you have someone who the mountain structure was not installed with the best load bearing capacity, and then a few years down the line you have a problem, you spend more money again in terms of capex to go fix all of those things again. Mind you, inflation, the value of money today is definitely higher tomorrow. Oh, sorry, lower tomorrow because of inflation. So you're spending more for that same thing today. So it's really a very good investment to choose the best person in terms of value and delivery, and not just looking at costs in order to save you the hassle down the line. So what are the things you would say fed into the process of choosing the best delivery partners, like contractors, to deliver your well-designed solar power projects?
Okay, for the, I think we can talk for the 25 megawatt projects, for from my experience. Of course, we need to choose for the contractors that have some kind of bankability as well. So
Yeah,
we need to do like KYC to check whether uh, they are able to finance the projects, because of
yes,
course for the project owner, we are using the term of payments. We cannot pay all upfront.
yeah,
We need to do some like progress payment. So yeah, the contractors needs to be able to finance that project first.
yeah,
Uh, and then I think for Indonesia market right now, there's a lot of local contractors, but as well for the bigger projects such as the utility projects,
yeah.
there's Chinese, and then there's the I think Middle Eastern
Right,
contractors that can able to provide their services to
right,
like finance first the project in Indonesia,
right.
then they do the subcontractors with the
Yeah,
locals. Yeah,
yeah,
because if we are only using like international contractors,
yeah.
sometimes they're not really know the field and how to deals with the locals, with
Yes,
the
that is true.
logistics, because
Yeah,
this is a bit hard logistics, because it is archipelagos. We need to use the ship, and then we need to use the trucking, and then
yeah,
the road is not as good maybe in their home country. So yeah, there's a lot of coordination with the locals. I
yeah,
think if in the end we're choosing the international contractor partners,
yeah.
they should use the subcontractors for the
Local.
from the locals. Yeah.
Yeah. That is definitely something that very much applies here. So I'm guessing that will probably apply all over the world when it comes to anything infrastructure, is how much we underestimate the local, capabilities, because they know the area, they know the people. If you have a contractor who is and just messing about on site, and then you have the landowner, because a lot of the time you have the landowner really that lives close by, to where the farm is being built, and you have that kind of scenario, they would they won't be happy. The landowner won't be happy. You won't, the local people will be like, oh, these contractors are messing up. They're doing this. They're ruining the local environment, things like that. And someone who is local, someone who understands the landscape, both from a community point of view to actual, resourcing of materials, the best time to, I guess, carry out the construction works, all of the basic installations that you don't really need to ship, or bring everyone from abroad. Those the best people to employ locally. That is just something that you need to know when you're building up projects. You need to know the environment. You need to know what level of capabilities, what value do people in that local vicinity give to, I would say tradesman workmanship skill, because you have certain communities, certain localities where they take pride in being able to do their craft really well. And then you have some people that do not really care, they just want to get the money and get out. That type of person, you just need to be in that environment to know who is who. So local ability, or local capability is just something that cannot be overstated, and it's something that I think we need to sort of pass on whenever about delivering projects at any point in time. And I mean, yes, there are definitely project skills. For example, you mentioned bankability, and for anyone listening, probably mentioned bankability the second time now. This is something that really comes when you start looking at large scale infrastructure projects where you have external parties financing the project instead of you paying the project completely upfront, because if you can use someone else's money and get better rates, then why not do that? It's just like when you have your credit cards. But not delving too much into the economics of everything. But yeah, you have, banks could be the lenders, and for that, those people lending the money for the project, they need some form of um there's that kind of trust and that you need to be comfortable with. So that cuts across the kind of equipment that you use, the partnership in terms of like contractor that you're picking, and everything that you've put in place to establish that project, just to make sure that they are not taking on, too much of a significant risk that your project becomes not viable down the line, or your project is not making the forecasted revenue that you intended to. So that's basically a generic overview into bankability and what that entails. But just so taking us back into solar PVs, when it comes to being able to prove your bankability, they need to see like, cash flows, just say a lot of things that financially need to be seen. But a local company might not have that, which is where you have, bigger companies, which would most likely also be international, to come support and, bring that strong footing because they're bigger. Hence, they would have more trusted cash flows because we can see that they've handled big amounts of money in the past. So you can trust them with bigger amount of money again. So it's a kind of chicken and egg scenario whereby, you need to have done something big to qualify for something big. And if
Yeah.
you've really done small things, you really can't. Yeah, you need to try the big things. So, but yes, as Jason has mentioned, a better strategy would be, a main subcontractor will be, a big entity, and then you have a subcontractors from the name. So smaller contractors that do different packages of work within the full, solar PV farm. So you could have a local subcontractor for the electrical installation. You could have another local subcontractor for the mechanical completion, so the structures. You could have another local subcontractor for like, the civil works and all the earthworks that need to be done. And that is how, you break down the big scope of works for a solar PV farm and engage with, quality, valuable, cost effective, and local knowledge to deliver and so maintain that quality that quality of design to be translated into sort of construction and delivery.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
that
That's yeah,
yeah, so that's been a very like sort of fun conversation, because a lot of time when people say, oh, solar PV farm, you do design on PVCs, but a lot of time infrastructure really goes beyond that, and it's something that you know in ReGEN Club, but personally when it comes to solar PV technology, I like people to be aware of both the economics, the policy, all the financial implications of the design considerations that we make. Because if you make a design using certain equipment and those equipment are not bankable, they're not tier one, then you
mm,
have to go back to your drawing board and redesign again. So
yeah,
it's the
yeah,
type of
that's
things
right.
that just really need
Yeah,
to be
actually,
considered.
actually, for the PV solar project, it's like the design part is like one thing, but there's a lot of stuffs that need to be like we need to knit it with all the other stuff so it can
Yes,
be
yes,
visible.
exactly. And yeah, like we're all in this together. And I think one beautiful thing about engineering is most engineering disciplines are very much you work with other engineers in other disciplines. So there's always that level of interdisciplinary dependence to actually get the whole thing done. And it's just something I find really beautiful about engineering personally. And that's why I really like being an engineer because there's no, it's not like you just sit and you do everything and then you let it go. If you need to know how the other parts kind of incorporates into what you're designing for in order to, yeah,
Yeah,
add value.
and then the operation and maintenance stuff, it's like another thing of headache. But
Entirely.
yeah.
Entirely. Oh, very amazing. And just sort of wrapping up with, like sort of project life cycle, what would you say, or what sort of challenges would you say you faced, or big ones, maybe not the traumatic ones, challenges that you faced, so working on solar PV projects?
Yeah, actually, I can tell you a story about like there's another projects, not the 25 times two that I've done, but a bit smaller, like 20 megawatt peak projects in Indonesia as well. So I want to let the for there's force major, so
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
flood, in the PV area, and then it cost like it eaten like 5 megawatt peaks of PV module, and
Wow.
then that's a lot, and the flood is due to the nature and because it is a force major. And I want to let the viewers know as well, one thing that's cannot be forgotten is the insurance. Like
Yes.
we need to after we finish the project, maybe before finish the project, like the construction's time, we need to have insurance as well. And then after the construction, we need to do the insurance, because if there's no insurance, it's really like it's done for me. So yeah, because we have already do the pay the installment of the insurance, and then we have contacted the insurance company, we can
Yeah.
directly to replace the new one due to the flood.
Wow. And you remind me asking, how long was the project operational before you had a flood incident?
4 years.
Wow. Wow, that was very early, early to the
Yeah,
project life.
early, yes.
Wow. Wow. And how was the aftermath, in terms of dealing with the other capacity that was not useful? Could you reuse any of the equipment or was it just like done?
So we actually coordinating with the recycle company for like
Yes.
there's the module, there's like a lot of aluminum and then the silicon. So
Yeah.
we work with the recycle the recycle company. So we just send to them, and then like they buy it based on the weight
Oh,
of the material.
really?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, the weight of the material. Yeah, that's the loss. But yeah, I think uh I think that's one of the rest of the projects. So yeah, there's no that's a lot of unexpected things that can happen even after you finish and successfully build the
That
systems.
is true. That
Yeah.
is really very, very,
We
very,
need we
thank you
need
for actually raising that. Yeah.
yeah,
And
we need to prepare a
what
lot.
a lot. I mean, no one can really, I mean, you can foresee flooding because I mean, here in the UK, one of the things that you have to do or part of your requirement during when you're getting like planning from the local council is a flood risk assessment slash drainage strategy. So you normally have some form of flood assessment that would have been done and drainage if there needs to be like a drainage basin within the sites just to prevent flooding. But you have things where they call one in 100 events, that kind of thing. They have that highlighted
Yeah.
in the flood risk assessment, and then you say, okay, half of my side is in flood zone 3, which is obviously higher risk of flooding. And then you have, okay, 1 in 100. So you're like, actually, should I design for the 1 in 100 scenario, or should I just risk it to just design normally and not over engineer the solution? That kind of thing. And it's just okay, because if you're designing for a 1 in 100 flooding scenario, you're going to definitely over-engineer the project and you'll be spending so much capex. But there's a lot of things that have to do with it that is so not, predictable, and then you have to really do the weighing between spending more on capex and over engineering something that for something that might never even happen, because typical life cycle for a solar PV project is I've seen 25, it could be 30, it could be 35 years, max, I guess. So even once in a 100, the likelihood of that happening, during a 35-year life cycle is just, yeah, interesting. So what do you
Yeah.
do, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
So I think for the engineering designs phase, actually we are already using the like 1 in 100 flood scenario. Yeah,
Wow.
and then the flood happens is like for the last, I think, 250 years, in 250 years ago. So the flood is like never happened like in 250 years. So it happens right like in maybe 2 years ago. So it's kind of like,
Wow.
wow, it's like
Yeah.
a surprising
Lucky
event
me.
for us. Yeah, a surprising event for us, because there's no history in the near 10-15 years about for
Yeah.
flooding in that area.
Exactly. Oh, honestly, that's one of the challenges when it comes to any form of infrastructure. Is just you never know. It could be a
Yeah,
typhoon, it could be anything, and I'm guessing the region that you're in is probably more subjected to sort of natural disasters, unlike where the UK sits at the moment. Which, yeah, I would say is
yeah.
luck or not luck, but yeah, that's it. And would you think in that kind of scenario, would you design the projects differently, or would it probably be the same?
I think it is the best that we can do at that moment. And then we already built the drainage, and then the for the water flow. So yeah, I think we just need to make sure uh, like the insurance, and then we build. I think we can build more like dam
Mm.
walls. We can make more walls, but I think for that flood that big, even the walls cannot hold that.
They're gonna
So
fall.
yeah, yeah, because it is a really unique event in that area as well. So yeah, even the locals never get flooded before. So
Very
yeah, I
surprised.
think
Yeah.
yeah, that's just the natural
Surprise.
disaster. Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. And yeah, just sort of, wrapping up the conversation or bringing the conversation to a close, just, taking our lens to the general grid. Um, would you say that if the grid was green, like solar PV was to be a viable form of, I guess, investment or a viable form of technology, are you going to see more solar PVs if the grid is green? Because obviously, if it's green, then what we're trying to do is save the planet, climate change. So do you think the grid being green in itself would probably reduce, rooftop solar, for example, residential, commercial solar, and everyone would just, tap into the grid for green energy?
Yeah, I think the green energy, of course, will be impact and might be disrupted. The solar implementation for like the individual, for the rooftops, and then for the CNI, maybe for the business owners.
Yeah.
But I think going green is step by step. And then for Indonesia case, solar PV is like have a big chunk in the being green for the grid, because the grid is building solar, and then the end users and the individuals, the business owners, also building with solar, because it is relatively cheaper than the grid. And then I think it is hard to lower the electricity price from the if like in Indonesia is like 9 to 10 cents per kilowatt hour USD. So yeah, I think it's a bit hard to lower that. And then so the business owner and the individuals will search for the cheaper solutions. So yeah, I think we can go together with the grid. And the other load that has rise a lot these days is the data centers, due to the AI needs. Yeah,
Yeah.
we need a lot of energy. We need some big energy to provide the data centers. And maybe there's a lot of data centers built in the UK, the US, but there's also a lot of data centers will be built in Indonesia. Maybe there's in Jakarta, there's in Batam, and then each big islands needs to be able to provide the stable energy to the data centers. Yeah, because the
Yeah.
security energy for the data centers is like there's 5 levels, right? There's really a
Wow.
lot, a
Yeah.
lot of a lot of stuff needs to be considered. So yeah, I think if the grid is going to green, it's because the load electricity demand is rise. So yeah, eventually for the rooftop solars for the individuals and the business owners will grow as well because they need to find the cheaper solutions.
Right. So I think in conclusion, cost will be the main driver, I'd
Yep.
say yeah. That's not about right because obviously it's like I think at the moment solar PV is one of probably the cheapest forms of energy at this point because of just the scale. And a lot of people do even in the UK. I mean, we're probably bigger on green energy ambitions and all of that, but most people in their homes are thinking more about electricity bill than I mean, I can't speak for majority, but I think most people are thinking about electricity bill and saving cost and trying to use energy in the best times than, having green energy because that's a whole different landscape and you probably be thinking more about industrial energy, making industrial energy green as a better way of achieving the targets than normal regular people homes. But that's another conversation, climate change and
Yep.
green energy, another thing. So what would you say the industry as a whole? I mean, I think it's touched upon it a bit with like data centers and sort of what would drive solar PV uptake, but just in general, where do you think the industry is going to? And what do you think we should look out for at this sort of specific elements even you yourself will be interested to see in the near future? That sort of area and other areas that you think we should probably direct more attention on or we should focus more within the industry.
Okay. I think for once again for the Indonesia landscape, I think for the new demands such as the data centers, uh, as you've mentioned before at the beginning of the podcast, renewable energy is like has a fluctuative and like intermittency. So
Yeah.
we need to add like the BESS or the battery energy storage, so it able to provide the stable energy. I think that's a perfect combination, and maybe we can talk about this in another session. But that's like a perfect combination for renewable energy, such as maybe in Indonesia there's a lot of solar and then wind, and then the other intermittent renewable energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for the industry to grow the energy demand using the renewable energy, it needs to apply the BSS as well.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think there's two other alternatives such as geothermal that we've mentioned before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if like it is not a renewable energy, but it is a new energy. It is like nuclear. I think nuclear power plant is one of the solution as well, but we need to make sure the safety
Yeah.
for the nuclear power plant because yeah, I think that's one of the clean solutions if we want to implement the base load and to be able to provide to the industry.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. And then with our lovely solar PV, the lovely boy that is very scalable everywhere else in the world. I really love
Yeah.
solar for that. Is there anything we should look out for, material? Because I think at the moment the efficiency for material is probably like 23% thereabout, I'd say. you know, I mean, should we look out for more material R&D or are we going to be, should we expect any new technology, inverters? What do you think? I mean, I heard about like 500 kilowatts string inverter recently, like
Yep.
connecting 1000 volts. I'm like, oh, okay, but those kind of changes. Where do you think the solar PV industry, where we heading to, or what do you think the future of solar would look like? I think you also mentioned, recycling, how you had to weigh, recycling by weighing, which I don't know how to quantify that if you just take a whole flooded or wet inverter and just like put it on a scale. But things like that, and in the next 30, 35 years, what should we expect of solar? You know, because I think at the moment we're really ramping up with a lot of solar PV projects and just sort of thinking ahead in the future in the next 50 years. Where do you think solar PV would be?
Yeah, I think I've heard that several tier one PV module manufacturer has a R&D in the perovskite module. I
Yeah.
think yeah, we've heard for some time. Until that the perovskite PV module able to be like the market can be able to provide to the market. Yeah, it will be really great opportunities for the solar because the efficiency is like 30
I
plus
think
percent, right?
30. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
30 plus percent. So it will be make it the LCOE of the solar PV even lower. So yeah, I think it will be revolutionary. So until then, maybe we are still in the monocrystalline silicon.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I think the future is still, I think we need to make the solar uh, intermittency become stable. Other than
Mm.
battery energy storage, maybe there's a pump storage, there's other storage, form of storage that we can implement with solar. So yeah, I think and then another one. I think I've heard that the implementation in the Middle East that solar PV used for the desalination. So the excess
Mm.
PV, yeah, the intermittency PV is using to
Yeah.
provide the desalination
Yeah.
plant in the Middle East. So it's like there's some kind of implementation for solar PV
Yeah.
in other industry.
Yeah, see, this is what I like solar. It's just very easy to just do so many things with it. And I'm such a strong advocate for solar because you can do small stuff, you can do big stuff, you can do small stuff to affect big stuff. It's just amazing. I mean, let me just stop fangirling over solar PV technology, but that is me, and that's probably why I'm sort of handling everything solar with ReGEN Club this month. But yes, it's been really fun. I think today's conversations have really been a lovely discussion between ourselves and getting insights into the sort of general landscape, energy landscape within Indonesia, and sort of breaking it down into both the financial parts, the technology parts, how things beyond technology needs to be considered when it comes to deploying solar PV projects. And we've also talked about certain types of challenges that we would face in the industry. I think that covers most of the conversation that we talked about, and we've wrapped up discussing, taking everything back into the wider scale of the potential innovative opportunities that we have, and how we can link the existing technology together with other energy technology vectors, just to make us have better efficiency of capex deployed, as well as greener solutions, I'd say. So I think that has been a very well-rounded conversation, I'd say. I mean, let me know if that wasn't well-rounded. But yeah, I
Well,
think that's
I
it
mean,
for me.
maybe I think to wrap up this all, maybe I have a little bit closing. So for solar industry, I think solar PV, like even for the small residential, industrial, and the utility scale, I think solar PV is like the renewable energy that democratizing the energy sector. Everyone can
I agree.
access, everyone can produce their own energy, everyone not like dependent on the fluctuation of the fuel price, for example, for the
Yes. Yeah.
diesel power plants, diesel gensets. So yeah, I think the most interesting part for solar is I think the solar PV is democratizing the energy sector, and that's all from me.
Perfect. I actually love that term. I think that just be the nice caption. Maybe we just put it just for like, yeah, this is what Jason said. Democracy equals to solar PV, full stop, and that's it. Just to have that as a lovely tagline for the video. But no, that's amazing. I would say really thank you so much, Jason, for your time today, and thanks for everyone who listened up onto this point. And I'm guessing you've gained a very massive wealth of experience. And for those still interested, you probably have another recording of our online workshop also on solar PV, but we'd also be looking at solar PV through the lens of technical, economics, and policy. So really expatiating a lot of things that we've discussed today, and I'll be covering that session. And we would also have opportunity to have breakout rooms with other people that are interested in discussing more about solar PV technology. So get ready to listen, to gain knowledge, as well as to share what knowledge you have on solar PV. So looking forward to seeing everyone here, and thank you.
Thank you, Timmy. Bye bye.
Thank you.